I want to share with you the mistakes that I've made. Okay, so you should be able to see my board, basically. So I basically have been doing this now for 28 years. And in 28 years, if I told you that I had not made a mistake, I had not lost money, and or I hadn't been involved in projects where other people had lost money with me, I'd either be lying, cheating, or stealing. That's my philosophy. I also believe that, at the end of the day, you learn. So I've spoken to you already. If you call it Pareto's principle, about 80% of the deals kind of go according to plan, but about 20% don't. And if I look back over the last 10 years specifically, there's one common thread between the deals that work and the deals that don't work. Okay, so I want to explain this to you because I think it's very important. So there's two kind of methodologies. The one is the old school methodology, and it's all about control. So when you have a deal, the bank puts in about 60% of the money into the deal. Private equity puts in about 30%, and then equity puts in about 10%. Now, if you come from the old school mindset and all about control, like where you want to do everything yourself, there's a saying in South Africa called, and I can't speak very good Afrikaans, but fair van jou goed na on your squatter, it's like, I want everything close to me. I want to control everything. They want to put 95% at least of the money into the deal. And the logic is, I can control everything. I'm in control. The problem is you've got lots of concentration. All your money is in one deal. Sure, you've got all the control. If there's a problem, you can kick people out and do what you want. But equally, if there's a problem, you have to fix it. I don't care where you live in the world. It's your problem. You own it. You control it. You have to fix it. So you're a very active investor. You have to be an active investor. And I believe this whole philosophy here is summed up by people who come from a scarcity mindset. It's, I must control everything. And if I give anything away, I'm going to lose. Scarcity mindset. So I'll give you two examples of this. One, I had previous partners that are based out of Pretoria, and they had a big fancy investment committee, and they had all these fancy, clever property people, and they made a decision to invest in Australia. Now, I invested in the deal, and they flew to Australia, and they met the partner on the ground, and it was a new development. It was about 50-unit new development, kind of stock standard, where they were going to do pre-sales and then build it and then sell off the rest, and everyone was going to make a great return. If I stand to be corrected, I think there was no cash flow, but if I remember rightly, the IRR was 28%. Now, the problem was, the massive problem was that it was this mindset. So 95% of the money, at least, came from international investors. No Australians, not one Australian, except for the partner on the ground. And all the money came from international investors. And then the Chinese government changed the rules, and Chinese people weren't allowed to take money out of the country. So again, these are unforeseen events. I get the fact that due diligence can't see everything. It's impossible. But the point is, it happened. The Australian banks, because they lost all their pre-sales, the Australian banks changed the rules on, well, basically pulled the funding. And suddenly we were stuck with a 5 million Australian dollar hole in the ground, 4 stories deep in Brisbane. The partner did a runner, the developer ran away. And now we, the investors, there's 82 of us, own a hole in the ground in Brisbane, a big bloody $5 million hole in Brisbane. By the way, the investment committee members have run away as well. And so now we've got concentration, we've got control. Cool, lekker, we're in control of our big bloody hole in the ground. We have to be active, long distance. We now suddenly have to become developers and try and fix it. And it's all based on the scarcity mindset. So that's one example in Australia. Another example, same group of people, scarcity mindset again. They wanted to do medical buildings, and I participated with them. I had a number of investors, same again, participate. And they went and they didn't diversify. So they only did medical, and they only did it with one partner. And they put all the money into the deal. So there's the partner on the ground and no one else's money from America, just international investors again. But don't worry, we got control. Until the guy on the ground basically has done fraud, and he's been collecting the rents, but he hasn't been paying the banks. And so the banks have foreclosed on all the buildings. And there's 8 different portfolios affected. And luckily, we're only involved in 4 or 5, not all 8. But the point being is that now suddenly, once again, concentration, you got all the control, but now you have to go try to fix the problem. There's no Americans in the deal. So it's just an example of old school mindset, control, and scarcity, and it doesn't work. There's another way to do it. You've got new age, and you've got diversification and partnerships. So if you take the same model, 60% comes through the bank, 30% comes through private equity, and 10% comes through equity. But rather than taking 95% of the portion, you only take like 10%. So obviously now you can have diversification because you're putting money, smaller amounts of money into more deals. You've got less control. So sure, you're not like a majority investor, you've got a smaller portion, etc. So you've got less control. But also you've got lots of local investors. Like generally 70, 80, 90% of the investors want to be local. You want local people to invest in their deals, trust me. And if you do that, you're an armchair investor and you come from a place of abundance. Fundamentally different. Now, let me give you an example of this. We did a deal in Manhattan now. It's a $14 million deal. They were raising $9 million in debt, in funding. The Americans, so high net worth and institutional investors and family offices, invested $7 million. Local investors, $7 million. Callio, who you've met, our family office partner, invested $1.5 million. And we, Wealth Migrate, invested $500,000. So we have $500,000 in a $9 million raise. We're literally like a little sucker fish on top of a big whale. Now, do you think if something happens, if there's a problem, do you think those American investors, the big institutions and the family offices are going to jump in and kick ass to get stuff done? Of course they are. Which allows us to be an armchair investor. Because whether it works or even if it doesn't work, they're still going to be there to get it fixed. Fundamentally different mindset. And I'd go as far as to say that if you come from this old school control mindset and you want to work with us in Wealth Migrate, I would recommend you don't, because we don't do this anymore. We stopped doing this in 2019, 2020, when I analyzed all the deals that worked and all the deals that didn't work, and literally every single deal that didn't work fell into this category. It was an old school mindset, and it's actually why we split our business and they became a separate business called Orvest. Because I didn't believe in this model, I believe in this model, which is all about abundance, diversification, partnership, and it's the way to do it, basically. It also allows you to partner with better partners, because if you've only got a limited amount of cash, you can only get into a limited amount of small deals. Whereas if you're taking a small piece of the investment, you can get involved in multiple deals and much, much bigger deals, which actually is better, you know. So does this make sense? Put in the chat box, please, if you can give me an example or tell me whether this makes sense. I want to finish with 2 last stories before I move on of how I learned this. So I was quite a young boy, and my father was financial director of Rainbow Chickens, which is a listed company in South Africa. And the Rembrandt Group bought Rainbow Chickens, but they only bought 40% from the founder. And I found that fascinating because, again, you know, everyone's taught their whole life that you must try own everything and you must have control. And my dad was like, no, their philosophy is that the Rembrandt Group, which is one of the wealthiest families in the world, always only try buy 40% because it allows them to be passive investors and to let the management team and the original owner and everyone else still drive the company. So they can be passive. Their investment can grow nicely, but they don't have to run the company. Fast forward about 10 or 20 years, I'm in London. I'm with one of my best friends. He works for a company called Strand Partners. They get bought by the Hansen Group, or they get invested with the Hansen Group. They're now called Strand Hansen. They, you know, one of the companies that help people list on the London Stock Exchange. Now, the Hansen family is one of the wealthiest families in England that does cement. Exactly the same philosophy. They only invest 40% in the company. Why? Because they want the management team and the founding leaders, etc., to drive the company. They don't want a job. They don't want to run a company. They just want to be a passive investor. And over the last 28 years of investing, for me, I started to realize it's that scarcity mindset, which is, it's a dogma for so many people because they think they need to control everything. But all they're actually doing is they're buying themselves more complexity and more problems. Oh, don't worry, I own a house in London. It's mine. I own it all. I can sell it any day I want. Oh, and I've got my own management agent. I'm cool. No, you're not. You've just bought yourself more problems and more complexity. Imagine if you put your money next to Gary, armchair investor. Go sit on the beach, enjoy your pina colada, and watch the results come in, per quarter. And if there's a problem, particularly if you've invested with a whole bunch of institutional investors from England, do you think they're going to kick ass to get it fixed? Finally, I did say this. The good deals never leave their country. Let me say that again. The good deals never leave their country. So if you invest in a deal long distance and you own the majority of the deal, 95, 100% of the deal, the chances are that deal has been turned down by all the qualified local investors. So just think of that when it comes to the value chain. You're basically buying the crap no one else wants. And I'm sorry to be direct, but it's the truth. That's the problem with the scarcity mindset. An abundance mindset is that New York deal in Manhattan was not offered anywhere. No one even knew about it. It was literally through friends and family on a network. But by taking a small piece of the pie, we got access to the big boys table or the big ladies table. I don't want to get shot for saying things. Make sense? Okay, so a little bit of a tangent there, but I didn't go into that enough with partners in terms of yesterday. And I just wanted to share that screen with everyone. Okay, let's rock and roll into what is going to be day 5. Sorry, I'm quite passionate about what I just shared with you there. And even today, someone from the mastermind said, hey, Scott, have you lost money in different deals? And I said, of course I have. And I said to him that exact thing around partners. It's a fundamental mindset shift, and was for me as well in 2019, 2020. And ever since then, the results have been significant for us personally with reducing stuff not working, etc., because of that mindset shift. Okay, so I'm not giving you financial advice like I've just done. I'm sharing with you my mistakes so that you can learn and just avoid them. Rather than fall in your own potholes, why don't I just give you some guidance and you walk around it? But at the end of the day, I am trying to empower you and give you the knowledge so that you can make your own decisions. At no point am I taking responsibility or accountability for the decisions you make for your family. And that's not I'm not here for the lawyers. I'm saying that because it's important to you. I fundamentally believe in the 21st century, we all need to take accountability for our actions. Most importantly, though, that's a great thing because you should feel empowered. Don't give away your power to someone else, but equally don't be a blamer. Alex has just put in there, what about the care homes? Alex, exactly the same thing with the care homes in England. I'm sort of jumping a little bit, but ultimately exactly the same mindset if you think about it. So the care homes were affected by COVID. They were pumping, they were paying us 10% return in pounds. Then COVID happened, 50% plus people died in the old age homes. Suddenly there was a massive problem of supply and demand because there was more supply than there was demand. The councils didn't need rooms. People didn't want to send their family, their elderly to aged care homes because they would die, basically. Sorry to be direct, but it's the truth. And so now suddenly there was no demand. And again, we lost money there. But again, we're in like 100% scarcity mindset. We're all in the deal, and we're not invested with a whole bunch of English and institutional investors. And so now we're trying to manage and fix the thing long distance. Same problem. All 3 examples, literally 100% fall under that scarcity mindset.